or if I found out that my dad was donated sperm and then met my mom through that donation, ultimately it would just be who took care of me.
Craig, this is a joy. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Of all the things you could be doing, I really appreciate you making time for our little scrappy film. So thanks. I appreciate that.
I honestly, the film is a joy. I'm speaking with Craig Downing, the director of Dad Jeans, premiering at Dances with Films.
Correct. January. Super excited. World premiere. It's been a long journey, and we're super excited to finally release it and have people see the weird and human and funny and awkward and real story as it plays out in real time.
It's insane. Like this
Yeah.
is like I actually appreciate at the points that Aaron is. He talks about, this could be a movie, this could be a book, it could be because I mean, this is wild. I mean, of course, Dad Jeans tells the story of Aaron, who, as a sperm donor 30 years ago,
Yep.
um, uh, donated, shall we say, multiple
Yep.
times, and now is with his or met some of his children, and currently dating one of those women who took his sample. How did you come to be a part of this story?
So Matt, the producer, lived with Aaron in a co-op, and so it's kind of funny. But Aaron was doing a talent show. They would have like monthly talent shows, and so Aaron, just being a goofball, did his talent show presentation was that he was a sperm donor, and then he found out that he has sperm donor kids, and so Matt was like, "Hey man, my friend Aaron is doing this meet my kids party because he just found out he had donor kids. Do you know a director that might be interested in directing this little short piece?" And I was like, Matt, yeah, me, I'll direct it. That sounds weird and fun. And so I just thought it was like, oh, a fun, weird weekend. I've never heard of a meet my kids party. A lot of times when it's like meet my kids, it's like, oh shit, like something that's a family secret that's going on. But he was just like celebrating that these kids were that came to life or existing or part of a family. He was just excited about like moms being able to conceive children. He's like, why not just celebrate this life? And so we had this meet my kids party, and I was like, this sounds fun. And then I was like at the party, and I was like, Matt, this is not going to be a weekend. Like I think Aaron and Jess are kind of flirting. Like I think this story is going to go in some interesting places that there's no playbook for, and we're really in an interesting position to see this story through. Where a news piece would just do 30 seconds or a minute, we're able to really soak in and sit with these human beings as they develop relationships and dynamics that there is no playbook for. Like go to Amazon.com. How to date my donor child's mom. There is no book. There's no therapy for that. So they were, in some sense, on their own territory, defining what worked for them in their own relationship and their own dynamic. So like just being at the right place in the right time to just see where this amazing human, weird, funny, touching story went was just a great. We just were really lucky.
Well, I mean, you're right. Like this is one thing that you might hear on the news in a 3-minute special interest story, but I love that we get to sit with these families.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. I totally agree. Like just the dynamics of just like, oh, Aaron's a sperm donor and meets his kids, like, blah, 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 snap, snap, snap. But then you're like, wait, he's got a mom. He takes care of his mom. And also like, like these kids flew out to meet him and then suddenly they're living with him. Like you don't get all the like little silly moments of, like where I mean the news stories don't show Aaron going and meeting the moms of his donor kids and that like awkward and sensitive but ultimately really human moment where you're like, "Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm a sperm donor that you were conceived with a child with. Like how are you doing?" Like just that and letting that really basically letting those conversations breathe on their own versus like 3-second sound bites and just seeing the reality of that was just touching and funny and human. So it was just great to see it play. And we have so much footage just to like pick 63 minutes was, oh my gosh, was so hard. There's just so many moments.
what struck you most about Aaron? Because, like I said, the oddest of stories.
Yeah.
He just donated himself, if you will,
Yeah.
for the cash, and here we are, 3 decades later, and like you said, he's living with his mom. He's
Yeah.
taking care of her. Like, what surprised you about him?
So as a storyteller, like to be honest, like Aaron isn't the first go-to for a charismatic like subject matter. Like he's kind of reserved, he's kind of quiet, he's kind of goofy. And then, to find out that he had kids through when he donated sperm, and he admits he's like, "Oh, I just originally just did it for the money." Like he says that to the camera. He's like, "I was in my 20s. I just did it for the money." And so then now he's like, now he's coming to the reality of like, no, I mean, I was donating for the money, but also it was to help moms conceive who wanted children.
Mm.
And now these children are here, and then he's like, then it's like, it's just kind of hard to pin down any of the characters. Like, oh, Aaron's just doing it for the money. Aaron threw like a party, meet my kids. And it's like, okay. But then also, Aaron twice a day goes over and has lunch and has dinner with his ailing mom and then moves his mom in and then had basically his full-time job taking care of his mom. So like, oh, like wow, like he actually does, there is a real there's some reality, there's some humanity to Aaron. And then also Aaron isn't like, hey, I'm just a new fly-in dad. He's like, hey, donor kids, like I'm excited you're here, but I'm not in any way assuming I'm your dad. Like I'm just
Yeah.
excited you're human beings and your moms were able to have the beautiful kids they wanted, and look at you. You're amazing. And then he's like, he wants to make it sure on their terms, hey, like, what are you looking for? I'm going to let you lead on this. And he really respected, like, hey, do you want a father figure? Do you want a friend? Do you just want to like learn about who I am? Do you just want to learn about where you came from? Like, what's your goal? I want to meet you in the middle where you want, not like call me dad. Like he was really respectful in that way of letting the kids um lead on that. And so Aaron just has like a lot of emotional maturity identifying like, yeah, this is fun and weird, silly, cool, but also there's human lives involved and human feelings. Moms that are like, oh, is this a show up dad gonna take my kid? And so
Yeah.
it's like, no, I'm gonna go meet these moms and say, hey man, like, do you want to ask me any questions? Like, I'd love to learn about the awesome work you did raising these beautiful children and having a family. Like, I want to support the choice that you made and the work you did. And so just the characters are dynamic. You can't really pin them in one place. Like, um, like the moms are nervous about Aaron, but then they realize, oh, but like Aaron walks Madeline home when she doesn't feel safe. And then they go, oh, as a mom, that makes me feel pretty good. And I'm looking forward to meeting him. And in fact, I'm inviting him into my house to sit down and talk. And so just the like vulnerability that all these characters put forth for me to be there and just to at that moment was I just felt really fortunate.
I'm glad you say that because some of the moments I appreciated most were from these moms saying, I don't know what to make of this guy.
Yes.
Like, because I'm sure when the camera's off, they said that even more so. But you in this film, you let the families show themselves.
Yep.
And there's a lot of nervousness about this. What's this guy going to be like? What does he want?
Yeah. What's his
Um,
intention?
what's his intention? Why is he suddenly hanging out with my daughter?
Yep.
He makes a point of saying it's interesting because he says at one point, "I consider dad to be a cultural role and not a biological fact."
Yep. That's a good quote. Yeah,
And
I
I was
know.
like, okay, so even for him, it's like I don't. I what do you want me to call you, Aaron? Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're gonna go with this. It's just such a wild moment to see, and you're of course you're there for the first meet and greet. So
Yeah. Yeah.
what
The
was
very
that?
first time they come together,
Yes.
they sit on a couch and he walks in and like you can see in their face, like, wow, that moment, we were lucky enough to capture the moment they met for the first time.
what was
Yeah.
that like for you? Because I mean, that's got to be strange.
It's strange and stressful because I was like, I got one take.
Let's run it back. Can we run
Yeah.
that
Good rehearsal.
back?
Let's go for a little more motion. Yeah, no, I had one take. And at that time, we didn't really have a budget. It was just me filming with three cameras all by myself, running camera and audio. And I was just like, God, please have all the cameras work. Please have all the audio work. And it was just great to see the vulnerability and the humanity when you can just see them like processing when they see Aaron, like, that's my donor dad. And then you can see Aaron processing, like, I'm meeting my kids. And then when they all sit on the couch together, you can kind of see like the relief of like, wow, we're just human beings on the couch talking about this weird, unique situation, and we're just being present. And so I didn't know how it was gonna go. And I could see you could see Alice. Alice is unsure because she's younger and she's not as interested because she's no teenager. And then, but Bryce and Maddie are just like very interested. They're goofy, they're giggling, but they're also trying to size up like, how do we do this? And for me to just stay back and keep my mouth shut and like let this honestly roll out in a world where I don't know how often this happens or if it has happened where donor parents, dads are meeting their donor kids and then moving in together, like all that stuff. I just don't think it's happening, and that we were able to be there for the full, deep, rich story versus just a 37 soundbite, and being there from the very beginning to the end. Just the journey was just really great.
Well, and I think you're right. I'm sure, and I can't, obviously, I can't speak to this, but I'm sure that there are other stories of donors meeting their kids somewhere
Sure,
along the line.
sure.
But this goes so much further than that.
Yeah, do the donor kids move in with the dad?
Or go
Does
on
the donor dad
vacation,
start
like,
dating the donor mom? Yeah,
yeah.
couldn't believe it. And like in the beginning, we were like, "Is this really happening? Like, are they playing for camera? Like, is it?" I had to ask myself, "Is this real?" Because there's this seems crazy. But then spending so much time with them to the point where we're like, "Oh no, they're just a beautiful, like, real couple doing like human things and boring things." Like there's times where I just filmed Aaron and Jess just sitting on the couch watching TV like we all do in a relationship. And I was like, wow, this is real. This is authentic. And then to see just see Aaron holding Jess's hand, and then seeing also Aaron's mom reach over and hold Aaron's hand, you're like, this is beautiful and weird and authentic and human and unbelievable and believable all at the same time.
Yeah, now I would, that's an interesting point you say there, because I would love to tackle this idea a little bit, because the film does,
Hmm.
um, is the idea of celebrity.
Sure.
Because what we see here with Aaron is, I mean, there obviously, I believe that he's a genuine guy, but
Totally.
you see this back and forth with, I think it's like Denmark or Germany, and he's doing all these
Yep.
Good Morning America and all this stuff. And at one point, it's Jessica, yes.
Yep. Jeffrey. Yep.
She says, "Well, am I just your intricate plot?"
Yep.
What? How has not maybe not how has fame changed that dynamic, or how did in your conversation with Aaron? How does he view those things?
Yeah, I think in the beginning it was a novelty for everybody. It was like, wow, this is happening. And there was a novelty for news outlets. They're like, wow, this is happening. So I think there was a lot of interest. And in the beginning, I think it was honestly, it's just kind of fun for them. They're like, this is neat. We're in Good Morning America, or Good Morning Britain. We're like New York Times, like, King, the local Seattle news. And I think it was just fun. But then after a while, like the news kind of settled down, and at the end of the day, they're just still hanging out, making avocado toast together and watching Game of Thrones. And so I think that with anyone, like, oh, it's neat. Like I'm doing interviews, it's neat. But after a while, you're just kind of like, at the end of the day, they were still just a real relationship, making ramen noodles together and sitting on the bed and playing Mario Kart. And I think that's real. Like I think that's authentic how it happened. And so I think it was just fun in the beginning, but like I saw that off camera, on camera, after the news left, they were just a goofy couple, you know. And I think in the movie they even say like, you know, oh, after the end of it, you know, after the news, the sci-fi trappings of all this, it feels interesting. But the end of it, we're just a couple that's going to go to Safeway and get some pie and get tired and go to bed. And I mean, I can kind of relate to that. Like that's just regular relationships. And so I think at the end of the day, after all the lights are done, they're just, you know, they found chemistry. And yeah, it's an interesting story that they had Alice, but Jess says it like getting together was Aaron was a could have been a really bad mom move.
Yeah.
And so she has to be very sure this is what she wants to do. She has to be really into it. Otherwise, it's going to get complicated and sloppy. And so I think she was very, and as Aaron was more interested, but Jess took more time for it to be sure this was the right thing to do. And they say in the movie, like, yeah, Alice is an interesting part of this, but ultimately we're just two people that get along and are compatible, and we care for each other. And at the end of the day, we're just making salad and hanging out on the TV and just doing our own thing. And so, yeah, I mean, it's authentic and it's hard to believe, but seeing it over 6 years, I mean, it's I was in it. I mean, it's part of the story.
That's incredible. That's so
Yeah.
cool. That's such a cool aspect to it because I genuinely watching it, I want it to work. Like
Yeah.
you care about these people.
Yeah.
And I want to ask this too because and this is a key question in the film is how do you define family? What does family mean to you? Because you ask so many others. I want to hear from you.
Sure. I mean, I come from a boring traditional family, like, you know, heterosexual mom and dad, white, but you know, I'm a military brat and I traveled around a lot. And so I think for me, uh, boiling it down to if I found out my parents had adopted me, or if I found out that my dad was donated sperm and then met my mom through that donation, ultimately it would just be who took care of me?
Mm,
Who raised me, who was there for me when I was freaked out or needed help. And I think also Alice says that at the end, it's like, and it's funny, like she's kind of quiet throughout the movie. And then at the end, she just is hiding in the corner in the living room and underneath the blankets and just says, you know, basically like, it doesn't have to be blood. It, you know, that's common, but realistically, it's like, it's you define who makes you feel safe, who cares for you, who's there for you, who do you want to be there for, and who's there thick and thin, and just who feels right for you. And so for me, I think I resonate with what Alice says. Like for me, it's like who do I want to be with? You know,
mm,
who do I care? Who cares for me, and who do I want to let into my life, and I feel safe with? And so I would agree that for me, family is what you make of it, and who you want to be with, who you commit to, who cares for you, who do you want to care for, and who unconditionally loves you with all your mistakes in reality, but who's there in the long run for you? And for me, that's and it could be community, but like what's family? Is it like, you know, is it your reading group? Is it your church? Is it
mm.
like your ping pong club? Like who in your community makes you feel safe and you resonate with that makes you feel like you're people and you're safe? And so for me, that feels right for family. How would
Uh,
you define family? What I mean, like I'll put it back at you.
well, that's easy. Honestly, I mean, I'd have to echo what you said there because I do think that in the last 30 years, I think there was a point where family, the term family, meant a certain traditional structure, and I'm putting traditional in quotes.
Sure, yeah, yeah, totally.
But I really do think you're right on with it's people that you feel safe with, people that you care about. And I think we're in a space now where as a culture we're looking for family.
Yep.
And because that traditional model blew up long ago. And so it's funny watching a film like this. I'm like, yes, this is like actually at one point where what let's see if I can oh, I want people to know we're normal.
Yeah,
There's a quote
yeah,
from it. And
yeah.
that hit me. I was like, This,
Yeah,
okay, so that is a fascinating use of the term, but because it's not a normal story,
yeah.
but they can be normal people.
They can have the normal same feelings that any quote unquote traditional family has, which is like someone cares for me,
Yeah.
someone's there for me, like, and that to me, is definition of family. Like, who is there for you? And you're right, like we're normal. And it's because they were raised that was their normal when they grew up. They didn't know any different, but they learn the same values, which is love and compassion and caring and respect. So moreover, it's like, what are the values of family versus like, what is the checkbox inventory of family? Like, what are your values for family? And then that'll tell you who is your family.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm with you 100%. Craig, honestly, the film is so much fun, and I know it's premiere. How can people catch wind of it here? I know it's a Dances with Films. When's the premiere?
January 13th, New York, Union Square. And that's the premiere. We have other festivals that I am under an embargo I can't talk about, but
Right.
that's the world premiere. We're super excited about it. Dances with Films is a festival for filmmakers. They've been doing it for a while, and of all the opportunities, this was the festival we chose to have our world premiere with. And it's 63 minutes. Like, we cover a lot in 63 minutes, as you've seen the journey, and it just really goes into the interesting, awkward, human, funny moments. And you did a great job. Like, obviously, you've done your homework, like quoting the moments that I resonated with and catching the pivots throughout the story. So we're just really excited after the 6 years, and having little news bits. New York Times covered it. Like Good Morning, Britain covered it. But just to actually be able to say, like, oh, I've heard of that story. Well, what you've heard is the sound bites. Here's the full story from the very beginning to where we're at now. And the journey's just beautiful and crazy and funny and awkward and endearing and human. And I feel like we do a good job capturing that in 63 minutes.
You absolutely do. Honestly, Craig, the film is so much fun, and beautiful. So I really appreciate. Thank you so much for the time to chat about it. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for being interested in our film. I'm sure you got lots of films to talk about, but making time for us, we really appreciate that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have a great day.
You too. Awesome. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks so
See
much,
you.
Craig.